Loading. Okay, Virginia 5, standard deviation and variance, and Z-scores. All right, calculator steps. You're going to put all your data into a table by going to Stat Edit. Let me pull that up on the calculator to make sure that you know where that is. Okay, so Stat is right here, and you're going to put your information into Edit, and you're going to put stuff into L1 and L2. So I'm going to go ahead and get some information in there. I'm going to put in my X values under L1, and every time you hit 1, you have to hit Enter. So then 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, and 80. All right, what you're going to want to do, whoa, you can see, what you're going to want to do is check your stuff before you start calculating anything. Can you see I already made a mistake right there? It should be 80. So go back and fix that if it's wrong. Then in L2, which is your Y values, well, we won't need a Y value on this particular part. So I've got all my data in, okay? So that's what you're going to do with your information, put it in. Now, if I want to find the range, I'm going to find my max and subtract my min. That is the biggest data value minus the smallest. The X with the hat over top of it, this little symbol right here, is going to stand for mean. In some places you'll see it written like this. This is the Greek letter mu, which stands for mean. They use this one on the formula sheet. Just know that these two mean the same thing. We'll use this out of our calculator. And standard deviation is the sigma that's lowercase. And we'll find that in our calculator. It'll look like this with the little x. And then we'll use variance where we square the standard deviation. So we'll take this answer and square it. And what you'll do, once you have your information in there, you're going to use one bar stat and find the quartiles and the median. So let me go ahead, now that I've got data in there, and I'm going to hit stat. I want to calculate, and we're going to use one bar stat, which is the very first one. And you hit enter, and hit enter again. And it gives you all this data. And if you'll notice right here, X bar is the very first thing that you're going to have in your data, and that is your mean. Okay, that's very important. There's your mean, and you're going to go down here, and you'll see a sigma right here, sigma X, and that is your standard deviation. They also give you an arrow button so you can scroll down. So if you needed to know what the range was, you would take the max, right here, 80, and subtract the min, and that would give you your range. If you needed to know the median, it's right here. Q1 and Q3 is right there. So everything is pretty much in your calculator. Very, very straightforward, very easy. Okay? Let's see what we've got. All right, so the standard deviation tells us how far the data values are from the mean. Remember, the mean is the X bar. Okay? If the standard deviation, let's make sure you know that's this symbol, is small, very, very small, then the data values are very close to the mean. And if the standard deviations are large, then it's further apart, which means the data is not as reliable as if it had been very, very close. The X bar symbol represents mean, this symbol right here, standard deviation. Variance is how far a set of numbers is spread out. So that's a little bit different from the standard deviation when it's talking about how far something is from the mean. Variance just tells you how far apart the numbers are spread out. Your Z-score tells how many standard deviations a number is from the mean. Okay? And they will give you two formulas. This one right here on your formula sheet. But we're going to use this one, which is the same exact thing, but notice the only thing that's different is the symbol for mean. That way you'll know that's the same thing. So on our first example, it says find the range, the mean, the standard deviation, and the variance for the information that I've already put into my calculator. Okay? That is exactly the information I put in there. So they want to know the range. And remember, range is the difference from the max and the min. So my max was 80 and my min was 10. So my range would be 70. Okay, back to my calculator, looking for the x hat. And remember, that was the very, very first x bar, x hat, first thing that we saw. So right here is 45. It calculates all this for you. That's a 45. Let me fix that. That's not pretty at all. 45. All right, and then the standard deviation. Okay, let's go back to our calculator. Our standard deviation is right here. This little signal with the x is 22.9. Now, our variance is going to be our standard deviation squared. So I'm going to go 22.9 squared, okay, and get that number. Now, let me just remind you, the more that you round your numbers, the less exact it is. So if you wanted to do the standard deviation, 22.91 would be more exact than 22.9. So your variance would be a little bit different too. So let's look at that. Second mode. Oops. Second mode. Let's go. All right, and if I wanted to do 22.9 squared to see what my variance is, that's 524.4. 524.4. Okay? Very, very, very easy to do. This is not a hard and difficult section to do the standard deviation and all that stuff. Okay? All right, let's go to the next and see what all we have. Now, this one says calculate the z-score for each point in the following data set. All right, let me show you what they did. Okay, they used the formula z equals, and then it's x minus mu, or x bar, same difference, divided by the standard deviation. Okay, so they want you to calculate the information. Well, the first thing you're given is this set of data. Okay, in order to find out what these things are, we're going to have to go in and find some information first. We need to know what the standard deviation is. We need to know what the mean is, at least. These are all data points or elements of a set that go right here. So if you had test scores or elements of a set or anything, they go right here. Okay, so everything else we need to have. So in order to do that, we have to put this information into our calculator and calculate your mean and all that stuff. So I'm going to go back to stat, and I'm going to go to edit, and I'm going to go up and clear those out. And I'm going to put those in, 76, 78, 89, 90, 84, 56, let's see, and 50. Okay? And I'm going to stat, I'm going to calculate the information that I need, which is the standard deviation and the mean. So my mean is the x bar, which is 67.57. So I'm going to leave it at 67.57. Okay? Then I'm going to go back. My standard deviation is right here above the n equals 7. Standard deviation is right here. 19.68. Okay? 19.68. And when you square that, standard deviation squared, you get this number, 387.30. All right, then in order to calculate the z-score for each one, you're going to have to plug this information into your z-score formula for each one of these data sets to find the numbers. So for example, I have the first data set or element of the set, and I put in 76 minus, that's part of the formula. And then I put in my mean, and then underneath I put in my standard deviation, And remember, you put this in your calculator, hit enter, then divide by the bottom. Okay? So that's how I come up with 0.43. And you're going to do this for each one of these data elements in the set. So I do it for each one of these, and these are the numbers that I got. You will have positive and negative things, and that's okay. And then the question wanted to know which values have a z-score less than 0.5 or 0.50, like 50 cents. Which ones are less than 50 cents? All right, so that would be this one, and this one, and this one. Because this is over 50 cents, this of course is over 50 cents, and these are negative. So it would be 0.43. Except for they want the value. So instead of putting those in, let's not do that. They want the data score. So that would be 76, and 34, and 56, and 50. Okay, so all I did was look above to get the data that corresponds with that z-score. And that's what they wanted. Okay? So like I said, it's not difficult at all. All right, now it says the data set has a mean of 55. And I recommend that you underline things when you're taking your test so that you don't have to go back and look for it. The standard deviation of 3.5. The z-score for a data point is negative 1.2. So they give you the z-score this time. What is the data point? So we're using our formula, and we're plugging in. So notice I plugged in the z-score, I plugged in my mean, and I plugged in my standard deviation because I'm looking for the element or the data point. Now, when you have this is negative 1.2 is equal to x minus 55 divided by 3.5. Okay, the last thing we said was divide by 3.5. We need to solve for x. So instead of dividing by 3.5, we are going to multiply by 3.5. So it's going to be 3.5 times negative 1.2 is equal to x minus 55, and then we'll add 55 to that answer. Okay, so we'll put this in our calculator. 3.5 times, what is that again? Negative 1.2. Hit enter, and then we're going to add 55 to solve for x. So that would be, okay, add 55. You get, whoops, not that. Wrong button I pushed. Enter. You get 50.8. So the data point would be 50.8. Okay, so you're just going to take the information and plug it in and solve for x when you're doing z-scores. All right, so let me erase some of this out of the way. Practice more. And they can give you different parts of that. They give you all but one thing, so you just have to solve for that one thing. They say find the z-score. So that means z, we don't know. Okay, remember, it's always a subtraction. It's the element minus the mean divided by the standard deviation. Okay, so 30 minus 22, and then hit enter, and then divide by 6. So 30 minus 22 is 8. 8 divided by 6 is 1.6. Okay? So it's very, very simple to use. Not a problem. They give you this formula on the SOL, so you don't have to worry about memorizing that. You just have to know how to use it. Alright? And that is it for standard deviation. If you have any questions, come see me at school. But this is pretty much basic. Just use your calculator. See you in school.